Shalom and welcome to the Gospel Call podcast. I am Samuel D. Spoonar, and today I will be talking about whether or not there is more than one God, or rather when you come across someone in evangelism, which usually isn't very often, and the question might be brought up, why is it there has to be one God? Why not multiples? Well, actually, proof for there being some kind of creator is actually proof for there being one God, in the fact that the universe is consistent. If you actually think about it, if there were multiple gods with different opinions in creating things, do you really think that everything would line up so well as it does? I realize they would be considered gods, right? But even think about it. Things wouldn't be as peaceful as they are. It seems so hard for people to even believe that there is one God, let alone multiple. Why would you just say that? And this is my second point, is that you're literally just taking a God and making a God for every single little thing in the universe and how it works, and there's a God of cameras, and there's a God of light, and there's a God of the sun and computers, and I'm just giving examples here, but for real, that's pretty much what they have done in times past, is they just create a God and say that there is a God for such a thing. But why not just say that there's a God for all atoms in the universe and spiritual things, which actually would be God? But that's why he says he's the God of gods and the King of kings and the Lord of lords, is because he's over everything, not just over one specific area, but he's actually God of absolutely everything. And this brings me to my third point, is that the universe seems to be governed rather than controlled in every single little area, right? It's not like every single little thing that happens is determined. Not that it isn't, which I do believe things are. I don't think things happen by coincidence and he determines them, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that because of our free will, I would say that the universe actually is more like governed and controlled, because physical natural laws actually keep things running, right? But who just set those in order? Who holds the atom together, right? Who actually is behind the very causes of this universe that keep it going? That would be more of a governor, not a controller, right? But even further, even the universe itself only shows for one beginning, right? You see what I'm saying? Is that the universe it's like a giant funnel. It just, all the way for beginning of time, it's just this giant funnel. It narrows into one singularity, right? And so what the atheists say is, well, there was this singularity, it happened over 13 billion years, right? And it exploded and the universe expanded. Whereas creationists say, no, that was like 7,000 years ago or so, give or take. And God just went, and boom, everything went into existence, and it was directly from him and from his control. So yeah, it is a different idea, but it's still one singularity. But if there were multiple gods involved, why would there be one singularity? Why wouldn't there be multiple points, right? Why is it there is exactly one type of singularity where the whole entire universe funnels into? Even just look up surge, right? Study surge and what that really means. And the universe points to not only a creator, but only one creator. That's why the theistic view works, because it's actually consistent with the universe that we see before us. And of course, John Newton realized this when he was studying gravity, and he attested to a creator because he realized that gravity could not have come by chance or by itself, but rather God would have had to have set that law into order. That's where we get the idea that there is one God, one being that just created everything, designed it. And even further than that, there's my fourth point, is that the universe is coherent, right? I had talked about this a little bit in my last video, is that there's a coherent design in the universe. But even just think of it. Look at planets, right? And moons. Okay, we give them these names because, we don't call Jupiter and Mars different kinds of space floating orbs and spheres. We don't call them by different names. We call them planets because they're planets, right? They have consistency in them, okay? And they all have a gravitational field, and they have, some of them have asteroids around them, right? And certain of them have dirt and land, and further ones out actually have water, and some actually have water deep inside caves and whatnot. So these things are consistent, right? We can actually name them accordingly and organize these things. If there were other gods, it would be totally different. And why is it the universe is the way it is like, well, I designed this big set of Legos, right? And I wanted it to look consistent, okay? I wanted it to really be a masterpiece. You see what I'm saying? Making it artistic. And it's building Legos, of course, so I want each little piece to refer to something, but also still be understandable. So it would kind of be almost like God creating the universe, right? He loves designing, as we can see from all the planets and galaxies and everything else in the universe. And so he's just like, oh, you know what? How about I use building blocks like atoms to build everything, right? And then dirt is something that we walk on and we put things on top of. You know, it can be hard, it can be loose, it can be in stone form, right? Or that you can have sand. So really, he just is so utterly genius to do something like this. And this is why there has to be only one God, is the genius of creation. So to say that there's more than one God is like me saying that there isn't a God at all, which is kind of ridiculous. So technically you could say there are three options. Well, there's either not a God at all, or multiple gods, or there's one God, which is what the Christians believe, but I'd just rather not believe that. I'm just kidding. But seriously though, this is again something that I come across not too often in evangelism. So as Christians, probably some of the best Bible verses to give would be Jeremiah 10, 11 through 12. So you shall say to them, the gods who have not made the heavens and the earth, they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He's specifically pointing to idols. He has made the earth by his power. This is God. He has established the world by his wisdom and has stretched out the heavens by his judgment. Stretching out of the heavens? Wait, doesn't heaven sometimes refer to as space? And isn't the universe constantly expanding? Oh, it's referring to when God is actually expanding the universe. Duh. Yeah, it's very true. Jeremiah is actually talking about very scientific things that at that time he didn't understand them, but now we do. Like stretching out the heavens, setting things in order. Hold on a second. That sounds like the singularity. Exactly. So it's purely pointing, the Bible is just pointing to scientific events that God had done, because guess what? God actually wrote the Bible. It's in God's inspired word. And then also Psalms 19, 1 through 2 is also a good one. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. It's so very true. If we just think about this verse for a second, the heavens declare the glory of God. They're literally declaring, oh, we were created by God, the God beyond everything, and we were set in order by him. And the expanse proclaims his handiwork. The universe is just showing God's impressive handiwork. It's like if I built a house, right? If I was some kind of contractor, very skilled, people would recognize my handiwork because of the past things that I have done, right? And so as we also see the design of the human being and the human mind, looking at the universe, it just makes sense. Well, of course God made this. He made so many other amazing things, so him making this just makes sense, right? And day to day pours forth speech. It's personifying it. Of course, it's just personifying the day and personifying the night, but it's kind of more relevant to this topic more than you realize. Because if you look at the sun rising in the morning, do you ever think, why does the sun rise in the morning? And not actually that the sun is coming up, but rather that the earth is just turning, but the earth actually turning into a perfect spot for that sequence, those certain amount of hours that we need, that plants need to survive. And do we ever actually think of why this came to be? Do we actually think, oh, well, yeah, God actually set that all in order? No, we never think that. In fact, a lot of times we'll say that nothing actually created the universe. And again, this is just evangelism. Is you're going to constantly be coming across that. And you know what? Maybe people will just still disagree with you. But in evangelism, you really just need to give your point, give some Bible verses, and keep going forward. That is something that I've learned a lot, that even though someone may utterly disagree with me on one point, I can still give them the gospel and it can still make an impact, right? Because these are just apologetics. So I hope this has been a blessing to you. I pray that God would use this in Christians' lives to evangelize better for Jesus Christ. And who knows, maybe you might win someone to Christ through this point that I was just talking about. So God bless you all. I hope you all enjoy your day. Thank you so much for watching my podcast.